Hi, grade nines. This last topic in the inequalities section is topic 9.3, which you can see is solving multi-step inequalities. So no different than what we did in 9.2. The only thing is that the inequalities, we're going to have more than one step involved to solve for x or whatever variable there is. So it's just more steps. And so we'll do a few examples together. I'll probably do 3 or 4, and we'll do one word problem. I'll try and keep this video under 25 minutes. I apologize for the length of the others, but yes, on the flip side of that, if you need to fall asleep ever, just plug one of these babies in and you'll probably be out in no time. So let's start with this one. X over 4 plus 3 is greater than 8 is my inequality that I need to solve for. Just like we did algebraically before, I want to get this x over 4 all by itself. I want to isolate that piece with the variable. So the first thing I am going to do is get rid of the 3 by opposite operations or through opposite operations. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. What I do to one side, I do to the other. And what that leaves me with here is x over 4, and I have that greater than symbol, and 8 minus 3 is 5. To solve for x, the opposite of dividing by 4 is multiplication by 4. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. The 4's cancel each other out. I'm left with x greater than 20. So the solution to this inequality is x is greater than 20. The reason it's in topic 9.3 is we have more than one step involved. And I can graph this, I can verify it, I can do all those sorts of things. Let's do this next one here. This is negative 3x minus 10 is less than or equal to 5x plus 38. Again, here, just like with algebraic equations, I always look to simplify if I can. There's nothing to simplify on the left-hand side. I can't combine those. They're unlike terms. I can't combine those. Those are unlike terms. Nothing to simplify. So now, through opposite operations, what I need to do is I need to start moving variables or terms, not real terms around to get all my x's on one side of my inequality and all my numbers on the other side of the inequality so I can solve for it. So where I start here is kind of personal preference. I sometimes like to work with positive x's and not get negatives involved. So what I can do is I'm going to take this negative 3x and I'm going to do the opposite operation. I'm going to move it by adding 3x. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. So I'm going to add it to the 5x over here. And what I end up with is negative 10 on the left-hand side. And I have less than or equal to 5x plus 3x is 8x. And I have plus 38. So in the next step is I need to get this 8x all by itself. So I'm going to move the plus 38 or the 38 through opposite operations. And the opposite of adding 38 is subtracting 38. And what I do to one side, I do to the other side. And I'm left with 8x here. Sign is still facing the same way. And negative 10 minus 38 is negative 48. Now I've got all my x's on one side, all my numbers on the other side. I need to solve for x now. Opposite operations, opposite of multiplying by 8 is division by 8. What I do to one side, I do to the other side, and I end up with x here. Oops. Sign still the same direction, and negative 48 divided by 8 is negative 6. So this solution says, again, always read from the variable, x is greater than or equal to negative 6. Now, if I look at the exact same question, and let's do it a little bit differently. So if I take, if I can grab this equation or inequality, and let's copy it. Let's put it here. So I'm going to take the exact same inequality and solve it a little bit differently. So there's my solution in red. I'm going to do the exact same thing. And hopefully I get the same answer. So negative 3x minus 10 less than or equal to 5x plus 38. Let's say I decided to, instead of moving the negative 3x here, let's say I started with the minus 10 and I did opposite operations. So I went plus 10 and I went plus 10. I end up with negative 3x here. The 10s are no longer there. Less than or equal to, and I have 5x on the right side, and 38 and 10 is plus 48. Now I need to get all my x's by themselves, so the easiest thing for me to do is to take this 5x and put it over to the other side, and I do that through opposite operations. I subtract 5x from both sides, and what I end up with, negative 3x minus 5x is negative 8x. I have less than or equal to, sorry about that, less than or equal to, I have negative, or sorry, the 5x's are gone here, and I have 48. So I have negative 8x is less than or equal to 48. Now to solve for x, I divide both sides by negative 8. And remember last day, if I divide by a negative to solve for x, my sign has to change direction. So now instead of it being less than or equal to, it now goes to greater than or equal to. And that should be a negative 8, sorry. 48 divided by negative 8 is negative 6. So I end up with x is greater than or equal to negative 6. Just like I did here, x is greater than or equal to negative 6. Read from the variable. These two answers are exactly the same. I've solved the inequation or inequality in a different process or starting at a different spot, but it will end up the same answer. So it's personal preference. Some people don't like to work with negatives. And then you don't have to do sign changes, but some people don't like x's on the right-hand side, so it is what you like to do. And we'll try the third one here. Again, we've got a negative 2 up front of this set of brackets, which has x plus 3 inside, less than or equal to 10x plus 18. So first thing, again, I have to do distributive property or distributive law. I'm going to take this negative 2, and I'm going to multiply it by everything inside the bracket. So negative 2 times x gives me negative 2x. Negative 2 times 3, I write that as minus 6, less than or equal to, and I have 10x plus 18 on the right-hand side. Nothing left to simplify here on the left side, nothing left to simplify on the right-hand side, so now I can start moving terms around to get all my x's to one side, all my numbers to the other side. Personal preference again, what you want to do. I'm going to start by moving the negative 2x by opposite operations. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. Now, I didn't have to start there. I can move any of those 4 terms, and it will end up with the same, or I should end up with the same solution. Those are gone. Left side, I've got negative 6. I've got less than or equal to, and that looks like 10x plus 2x is 12x, and I have plus 18. Next thing I need to do is I need to get this 12x all by itself. I need to get rid of this plus 18. Opposite of that would be minus 18. What I do to one side, I do to the other side. Negative 6 minus 18 is negative 24. And I have less than or equal to, and I have 12x. Divide both sides by 12. And I end up with x here. Sign stays the same. I'm not dividing by a negative, not multiplying by a negative, so there's no sign change here. It stays in this direction. And negative 24 divided by 12 is negative 2. Again, if I was asked to graph that solution, that reads x is greater than or equal to negative 2. So if I graphed it, I'm going to put my boundary point to negative 2. This would be negative 1, 0, negative 3, and so forth. Greater than or equal to -2, that would be a closed dot, and it's going to values that are larger than -2, so that graph is headed to the right. So that is solving multi-step inequalities. We'll maybe try, let's try one more. Let's do C. And in C, we've got some brackets involved again. I need to do distributive law. Take that 4, multiply by everything inside the brackets. So I'm going to end up with 4x minus 8 greater than or equal to, and I have 5x minus 12. Nothing to simplify here, nothing to simplify here. And with this one, I don't know, let's start with, I'm going to start by adding 12 to both sides. So something a little bit different. So I'm going to add 12 here, and I'm going to add 12 here. I end up with, on the left-hand side, 4x. -8 plus 12 is +4. I have greater than or equal to, and I have 5x on the right-hand side. Again, I don't have all my x's to one side, so I am going to move this 4x from the left side over to the right side. Then I'll have all my x's on the right-hand side and just the number 4 over here. So opposite operations, minus 4x, and I end up with 4 on the left-hand side. Symbol is greater than or equal to 5x minus 4x is x. So the solution is, if I read from my variable, x is less than or equal to 4. That is solving multi-step inequalities. The other thing that you have to do with this section is there will be some word problems, and you have to write an inequality, solve it, and interpret the solution to that inequality. And if we look at this example here, we've got a young lady named Sarah. She has 2 job offers. She's going to be a salesperson in 2 electronics stores. Store A, right here, will pay a flat rate of $55 per day. So she shows up at the store. She's getting $55 for the day, plus, so there's 55 per day, plus she gets 3% of all the sales she makes. So she's working on commission. So to find 3% of her sales, we take 3% times whatever she sells. And if I take 3%, that's 0.03 times whatever she sells. That's her commission. That's how she earns more pay. Store B here, we have flat rate of $40 per day, so it's a little bit less money, but she gets 5% of her sales, so she makes more commission. We have to figure out, the question is here, what do Sarah's sales need to be for store B to be the better offer? So we want store B to be the better offer. She's going to make more money if she works at store B. So that's what I'm faced with here, is all this information, and I have to write an inequality to model this problem. So what I'm trying to figure out is, I've got 2 stores. I've got store A, and I have store B. If I look at store A, if I think about how she's going to make her money, she gets $55 at store A plus 3% of her sales. And 3% as a decimal is 0.03. And we're going to call her sales X. That's how she makes money at store A. $55 for walking in the door, plus 3% of all the sales she makes, and X is the number of sales, or the amount of dollars, or the amount of money made in sales. Store B, write a similar statement, but in store B, she's making $40 for walking through the door, plus 5% of her sales, so it's 0.05 times whatever she sells. So that's how she makes money at store A. This is how she makes money at store B. The question, which is right here, asks, what do Sarah's sales need to be for store B to be the better offer? So if I'm making money, if store B is going to be the better offer, then my inequality sign, and the tough part is placing the sign correctly, we want store B to be making more money. So we want our sign to go that way. So this is the greater value. And I can do the exact same thing right here. So my inequality is 55 plus 0.03x is less than 40 plus 0.05x. And the reason I want my inequality sign this way is I want the wider part or the larger part going to store B, because we want store B to be the better offer. So I'll just write that inequality out and then we'll solve it. So here it is here. I've got my 55 plus 0.03x. My inequality sign is this way. And I have 40 plus 0.05x. Now I'm going to solve this thing. So I need to get all the x's by themselves, nothing to simplify on either side. So I'm going to take and I'm going to subtract 0.03x. Again, I didn't have to start there. I am going to start there though. So I subtract 0.03x from both sides. And I end up with 55. Those are no longer there. My inequality sign is that way. And I have 40 here, and 0.05x minus 0.03x should be 0.02x. Next step, I need to get this x all by itself, the 0.02x, so I'm going to get rid of this 40. Opposite operations, I subtract 40 from both sides, and I end up with 15 here. My symbol is there, and I have 0.02x on the right-hand side. My last step is I need to solve for x, so I'm dividing by 0.02. What I do to one side, I do to the other. And I end up with x here on the right-hand side. No sign change. I'm dividing by a decimal, not a negative. And if I take 15 divided by 0.02, my calculator, I go 15 divided by 0.02, I get 750. So now I need to interpret the solution to this question. And what it asks me is, it says, what do Sarah's sales need to be for store B to be the better offer? And so what this tells me is her sales are represented by X. Her sales have to be greater than $750 per day for store B to be the better offer. So that would be the interpretation of that solution. So we could write out Sarah's sales need to be greater than $750. That's supposed to be a dollar sign for store B to be the better offer. So that's a type of word problem in the multi-step inequalities solution. So give the practice questions a try, see how you do. Always give us a call or reach out if you do need some help. And good luck. Take care.